This is Shetland. Shetland is a group of islands in the North Sea, technically part of Scotland, but with its own distinct history and culture. In fact, Shetland is a 12-hour ferry ride from Aberdeen, and it's halfway between Scotland and Norway, who originally occupied the island. Shetland is a land of Norse origins, fire festivals, extreme weather, sheep and stunning scenery. I spent a week in Shetland at the beginning of March. Here's exactly what it's like to travel to these islands in the winter months.
So we're staying in the capital of Shetland, Lerwick, this week. Now, Lerwick is the largest settlement of Shetland, but it's actually the only town. Everywhere else is a village, but it's not a big place. It has a population of 7,500. These islands in the middle of the Atlantic are definitely probably the most remote place in the UK, but they are well connected. There are flights available from various places in Scotland, and we got the overnight ferry from Aberdeen, which was good fun. Now, as you can probably imagine, being an island destination, it has been a bit of a sensitive place throughout the years with lots of risk of invasion. So behind me is Fort Charlotte, which was one of the main strongholds of defending Shetland over the years. I actually visited and recorded a bit yesterday, so let's go back to Claire from the past, who will tell you about that. So in front of me is Fort Charlotte, and this is a historic Scotland property, although it is completely free to visit. This dates back from the 17th century, although it was rebuilt quite a lot during the 18th century when there were some serious issues and anxieties around invasion of the UK following the American War of Independence. It's also been used as a prison. Alright, back to today. I'm here with my partner and his parents, and I'm meeting them in a cafe called Fujara for lunch. Now, this is a very Scandinavian sounding name, so it's just another reminder of how Norse everything is here. But let's walk to Fujara and I will show you what I can see along the way. So I'm walking down the main street of Lerwick. It's really not a big place, and all of the houses are slate, I believe, almost reminiscent of Aberdeen. There's quite similar architecture. A lot of the shops are independent shops, but there is a Boots, a Superdrug, there's a big Tesco on the outskirts of town, so you do still have everything you need here. I had to cut inland because I was running a little bit out of time, but I just wanted to say we are in Shetland. It's the 1st of March today, so according to the calendar here, that is the first day of spring, and yeah, it feels fairly spring-like today. It's quite sunny, which is lovely. It's only about 6 degrees. I am walking around in a sweatshirt, but that's because I've been running a little bit. But yesterday, there were winds of 50 miles per hour. And I went for a run. It was pretty hair raising. I'll tell you something, the Shetland wind is no joke. I'm walking like towards the headland, which is where I wanted to run to now. And it is pushing me backwards. It's a challenging run, but it is good. I feel alive. I avoided the cliffs because obviously it's not a good idea to be on cliffs in winds that strong. But today is probably the nicest day we've had. It is really lovely and still, and yeah, the sun's coming out, which is very nice. But we'll see as the week progresses what the weather's like on the other days, because it will be good to get kind of a week snapshot of all the weather that you can experience on the islands in early March. I've heard that sometimes there is a seal who hangs around on the rocks here, or even a colony of seals, but haven't seen them so far when I've been walking around, but fingers crossed at some point during the week. Landscape is stunning here though. I've only seen this bit sort of just around Lerwick and around the other side so far, so I'm really looking forward to getting out and about and seeing more of the island in the next few days. But if this is anything to go by, you know, this is, I mean, it's not a city, but this is the most populated area, so if it's anything to go by, the rest is going to be epic. I did have to cut inland a little bit because I was a little bit late, but I'm heading to Fujara now, so I'm very excited for a nice big feed. So one of the biggest celebrations of Norse and Viking heritage and history on this island is Up Helly Aa. This is a series of festivals across the islands. We're going to one tonight in Bressay. I'm going to do a whole other video of this, so stay tuned for that. But here's a quick recap of what we get up to. After Up Helly Aa, do check out that video if you're interested, because it really was quite something. But we are just preparing for our little road trip tomorrow, so we are heading down right to the south of the island tomorrow. So first we're going to Scalloway and then we're going to Sumburgh. So yeah, see a different side of the island. I'm not exactly sure what is on the agenda, but I will take the camera with me and show you what there is to see in South Mainland Shetland. And then day after tomorrow we're going all the way north to Unst, which is the furthest north point of the United Kingdom. I'm going to go to sleep now because I want to get out for a run before we get going tomorrow, so I will catch you in the morning. Alright, it is the next morning and our first stop is Jarl's Hof, which was the house of the Jarl of Shetland, who was like the man in charge of Shetland, I believe. Made it to Jarl's Hof. It's just behind me. Unfortunately it's Sunday, so it is closed today. It's only open 5 days a week during the winter months, but this is an ancient Norse and Viking settlement and we're really close to the very south of the mainland here. So there's a lighthouse just in front of me and that is the southernmost point. We're not going to go up there because you might be able to see it's very windy. Another thing that I can't get over is there is a beach here that literally, it's like a white sand beach. It looks almost tropical, but we're very much subarctic here. Like the weather is not tropical, but the beaches are incredible. Oh, and it's just started raining. There's not much in the way of catering outside of Lerwick, but we have found one solitary hotel, so I'm going to see if they can get a coffee from there. Oh, was it?
Similar to that, yeah.
In winter, they said. Made it to Scalloway, which is the ancient capital of Shetland. We are actually going to pop into the Scalloway Museum. It's closed at the moment, but the curator is very kindly opening it for us. But we're just having a little wander around the town first. These are not prime conditions for videoing or anything really. It's very pretty though. In front of me is the Scalloway Castle, and this is where the Scalloway witch trials took place in the 16th and 17th century. Very sadly, women were sentenced to death for witchcraft, which is very sad. Got some colourful houses behind here. I always love these near the sea. There's a lot of them in Bristol where I used to live, and they are painted colourful because sailors used to look out for their ship when they came back to shore after quite a long time at sea, and that's how they'd know which was their house, which colour it was. We're just trying to find a memorial to the Shetland bus. We're going to learn a bit more about this in the museum, so I'll talk about it a bit more then. But basically the Shetland bus was a World War II boat link. It wasn't a bus at all, it was a boat link from Norway to Shetland, and it aimed to help Norway with the resistance movement and also transport refugees from Norway to Shetland. So very interesting. I hadn't heard about it before I came here, and I know quite a lot about World War II history, but this is something that I'd passed by. So we're just trying to find the memorial now, and then we're going to go to the museum and learn a bit more about it. In 1940, Germany invaded Norway, and they were unable to do much of their resistance actually in Norway itself, so the king actually moved to the UK to kind of carry out the resistance from there. Some of the Norwegian boats were kind of ended up in Shetland just because of weather conditions. Yeah, they kind of had to take shelter here, and when they did that, people in Shetland realised that if Norway could get here, then they could go the other way. So the Shetland bus started to help the Norwegian resistance. So yeah, very interesting, and it also again just shows how close we are to Norway really. I mean, not close, but about halfway between Scotland and Norway. And yeah, again, it just shows kind of the relationship between Shetland and Scandinavia. We're going to go shelter in the museum now because it is brisk out here.
We're in the Scalloway Museum now, and something else that's really interesting, obviously the whole history around the Shetland bus focuses on its links with Norway in the Second World War. This is all written in Norwegian because they have a lot of visitors from Norway because of this shared history. Another interesting thing I noticed as I was walking around this museum is the parliament here was called the Thing, which is the same as Iceland. So it's an old Norse word meaning parliament, and in Iceland they have Thingvellir, which is where the first parliament of Iceland was held. It's also where you can walk through the Eurasian plate and the North American plate. And yeah, so again, it's sort of all the old Norse history, but yeah, like I say, just constant reminders of the fact that these islands are or were very Norse. And this is the Shetland flag, and this is the Scandinavian cross but the Scottish colours. And we were just chatting to someone here, and she said that you'll always see this flag flying, you'll never see the Scottish flag flying, which is funny because actually I said it reminded me a bit of Cornwall, where you will see the Cornish flag flying a lot, you'll never see the English flag flying. You might see the UK flag flying, but this actually only dates back to 1969, which was 500 years after Shetland became controlled by Scotland. It was almost a memento of those years of Norwegian and then Danish rule before, and then obviously then there is 500 years of Scottish history.
But all that said, a lot of people seem to have some degree of nostalgia back to when the islands were Norse. First few decades of Scottish power and even centuries of Scottish power were not very pleasant on the island. I spoke about the witch hunts earlier. That was sort of not long after Scottish took power, and there were quite a lot of other things as well. So this caused a lot of people to kind of remember that transference of power quite badly and think about the Norwegian and Danish times quite fondly. Whether that's, I'm sure bad things happen then as well, but it does mean that people kind of feel more of a fraternity, I guess, almost to Scandinavian people, and more of a resistance sometimes to being Scottish, and definitely a resistance to being British as well.
It's our growing season, so many of them are slightly different, but all of them are of the same stock originally. And rural college down in Scotland, where
it's late now, it's nearly 11 o'clock, but tonight was meant to be a good night for the Northern Lights. It's meant to be like the best aurora watch night we've had since we're here. You can see the Northern Lights in Shetland in the winter sometimes, but they're not as guaranteed as places further north. Not that they're ever guaranteed, but we're only in Lerwick and there is a lot of light here, so it's unlikely that we'd see them, but I did think I saw them earlier. So I just thought I'd pop out again to see if I could see them now, but it's very cloudy. I don't think they're here tonight, but so it's always a possibility if you're in Shetland in the winter, but it's never guaranteed. On our Shetland road trip today, we are heading up to Unst, which is the furthest north point of the Shetland and of the UK. About a 2-hour drive from here. It involves 2 ferry crossings. We've got to drive up to the north of this island, go across another island, and then we're finally at Unst, and then we go up to the north of there. So we have started our journey up to Unst, and we're very much going here pretty much just because it is the far north point of all of the UK, mainland and islands. So yeah, we're kind of just going just to see it, just to see the northernmost point and the northernmost everything really. There's the northernmost bus stop, there's the northernmost tea room. I think the tea room's closed today actually, and the nature is really incredible. We've seen some beautiful lochs and rolling hills, and the coastline is incredible as well. So we are just on the ferry now. This is a 20-minute ferry to Yell, which is the middle island, and then we've got to drive across Yell, and then there's another ferry to Unst, which is the northernmost island. This is just a standard roll-on roll-off car ferry, but there is a passenger lounge which I'm going to go check out now. I was going to say this is quite similar to the Bressay ferry that we were on the other day, but actually up here it's much bigger. This is a 20-minute journey, but there's toilets, there's a non-operational vending machine, and there's loads of space to sit. I'm guessing in the summer months it's really busy here, but first week of March you've not really got many people. Toilet looks clean and functional. Better than most train and airline toilets, that's for sure. Yeah, with the free sanitary products, England needs to take note. So the lady who works on the ship was just telling us that this ship can accommodate 33 cars depending on how big the car is, and 90-something passengers. And in the summer months it does get very busy. They have a couple more runs in the summer months, and they have another vessel on this route as well, but at the moment they've just got the one vessel and it runs about once an hour. We are sailing past some uninhabited islands, which is quite cool, but unfortunately the weather is kind of, it's not bad weather, it's not rough, it's calm, but it's just the visibility is not great today. We've got a lot of mist and a lot of cloud, but maybe it'll clear up later. We've arrived in Yale. That took about 10 minutes, I think. They did say we thought it was going to take 20, but yeah, it was very speedy. And all the good facilities. I seem to miss the foot passenger exits, and now I'm waiting for all the cars to disembark. I don't know where everyone else has gone. Thank you. Alright, walk in. 20-minute drive and we are on the other side of Yale. So this is the northern part, and from here we take the ferry to Unst. We're here at 10:48 and the next ferry departs at 11:20, so there is a little bit of a wait. The interesting thing is most people getting the ferry from the mainland to Yale are then going to Unst unless they have something to do in Yale. So I thought the ferry times would match up a little bit better actually, but they don't. So yeah, at least it gives us a bit of time to see the scenery around here, and it is very beautiful. As you can probably tell, the wind is quite strong, although it's not as bad as it was yesterday. I'm also very, very layered up today. But it's not cold really, it's just windy. The wind chill is definitely a factor. That little car for the day. It is very nice, but the wind is definitely making things very cold, so I think I might retreat back into the car. So we've made it to the famous Bobby's bus shelter. This is where the local residents decorate the bus shelter with a theme every year. However, unfortunately, we've arrived at the wrong time of year, and during this time they don't have any decorations. It's closed for its annual refit. But it's still quite cool. There's a chair that you can sit in, you can wear one of these hats if you desire. Looks like they had some kind of nautical theme here previously. Not sure what the theme will be next year, but I believe it's on the Facebook page when it's announced. While it is all very quirky, it is a functioning bus stop. The timetable is here. So the next bus would be, oh, what time is it now? 11:52 now. So our next bus would be, I think we've missed it. I think the next bus is at 7:30 in the morning. But this bus does in fact go all the way to Lerwick where we're staying, to Tesco, but it does only run once per day. So just up the road, like a minute's drive from Bobby's bus station, is the Final Checkout Cafe, and this is the final checkout shop, and there's also a cafe attached to it. It is the only cafe that's open on Unst today. There is a tea room as well, but it's closed on Mondays, and there's also like a little self-serve cafe, but they do lentil soup, which I'm very much looking forward to, and coffee and tea and rolls and whatnot. So yeah, it'd be nice to have something warm because it's a little bit chilly, I'm not gonna lie.
horses and everything shower on a tree.
Just have a little look around the shop, and you can actually get all sorts here. I will double check this, but I think this is the only shop in Unst. But you can get gardening supplies, pet food, plumbing solutions, all sorts. But if they want a main supermarket, they do have to go all the way down to Tesco, which is probably about a 2-hour journey away. So this is a really good example of why on the Shetlands they say they're Norse rather than Celtic. They don't have the huge castles that you'll find in Scotland. Instead, there are loads of these Viking longhouses that date back to the Viking era. There are around 60 of these longhouses in Unst, in the surrounding area, which is the largest number of any in the Viking world. Were used for animals to live in. There are some families lived in here as well, and just generally sort of Viking settlements. So let's see if we can go into this one. This seems to be free and open all year round. I think I just let myself in. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm not going to lie, this feels very eerie. I'm almost expecting someone to just jump out of the shadows. Do you know? It must have been renovated a bit, because this doesn't feel like it dates back to the Viking era, although I guess it could do. I mean, obviously some bits have been added. I'll tell you one thing, the Vikings picked a beautiful place to have their longhouse. So I'll lock this back up, and there is actually also a Viking ship over here. Obviously this is a replica, but let's go and have a look at it. This ship is a full-size replica of the 9th century Gokstad ship, which was discovered in Norway in 1880. The ship was built in Sweden and set sail in 2000 for America, but actually ended up in Shetland. It came to the seas only 24 years ago. And this is what they would have looked like. Obviously, it's not an actual replica, but it's pretty close. Getting blown away now, so I better get back to the car. You can see the northernmost point of Shetland and thus the northernmost point of the UK. However, it's very much not a clear day. It's a bit of a breeze up here. But there is a bench here that you can press a button and it will play you some harp music and tell you about the Northern Lights, which is very pleasant. I don't know if I'll be able to hear it. I know I said there weren't really any castles here, but we just found one. So this is Munnes Castle, and this was made in 1598, so around just over 100 years after the Scottish took over. So yeah, obviously yeah, I've got castles that date back to around that era, but not castles that date back further like you do have in mainland Scotland. One thing I forgot to mention is that there is a space centre in Unst where they're hoping to launch a rocket from. We were able to just drive straight into it though, and there's also a gin distillery on the same site. So we drove into it looking for the gin distillery, but it was shut. Yeah, very strange. You could literally drive into this space centre. Didn't know that there was much going on at the moment, but I think, but I think they're hoping for more to happen with it in the future. Anyway, Unst was very nice, very pretty. The weather was not on our side, as you can see, but what do you expect when you're here in early March? A lot of things were closed as well because it is out of season. I think there's a lot more going on in the main season, the summer. So we're back at the ferry terminal now, but we've passed quite a fun day, just seeing the sights and just experiencing Unst. Here we go behind the Shetland Times.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I absolutely loved my time in Shetland, despite the weather not quite being on our side. If you're looking for unique places to visit in the UK, I definitely recommend these islands in the North Sea. Next time, I'll be taking the UK's longest train from Aberdeen all the way down to the southwest of England. Subscribe if you don't want to miss it, and please give this video a like if you've enjoyed it. See you next time.